Excellent. Okay, cool. Good evening and welcome to the next episode of the Quintessential Performance Insights. And tonight I'm really excited to have David join me. Thank you very much, David, joining us all the way from Vienna in Austria.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Cool. Thank you. We've been trying to get this tied down, calendar clashes and my mistakes.
Okay.
Really excited to get it on, and this is probably the first that will have a bit of a strange or interesting twist and not the normal. And it's, as we discussed, is really why I wanted to have you on to delve into your mind and your insights around human peak performance, which we'll come on to. As always, I really like to start the sessions with sort of an introduction to yourself, and who better to do that other than yourself. So if you wouldn't mind just who you are, what you now do, and sort of your journey of how you got there, because I think I'm really fascinated by those journeys, and they're what make people unique. So over to you, David. Thanks.
Sure. Well, thank you, Ashley. So for those watching, my name is David Corcoran, and I'm Australian, and I moved to Vienna 6 years ago. I used to be a professional opera singer, and my background actually started, if we go right back to the journey, when I finished school 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago, psychology. So I first studied psychology. I thought I'd be an organizational psychologist. And it was about 5 years into my degree that I thought, why not go and get some full-time experience? So I worked for what was then Coles Myer in Australia, a big sort of supermarket conglomerate with all sorts of department stores, liquor, fast food, all these different brands. It was a big Australian company. And according to my family, I'd done the right thing. I had a good job and a good education, and I was doing all the right things. And then at 23, I went to see a clairvoyant for my birthday, because some of the ladies in the office were doing that. And the lady said, have you ever wanted to sing? Use your voice, radio, acting, that kind of thing. And I really didn't. At the time, I wanted to do martial arts, and I was hell-bent on going to Japan and maybe teaching English and doing martial arts. So 2 weeks later, I had a singing lesson. And 2 years later, I moved to Sydney. 3 years after that singing lesson, I joined Opera Australia full-time in their chorus. And from there, my career as an opera singer really took off. I had 3 years in the chorus of Opera Australia. I then was able to tour with a roving production of Madama Butterfly. I had 2 years in the Young Artist Program, and then 4 years as a soloist at the national company, performing all of that at the Sydney Opera House, one of the most famous, iconic buildings of the world.
Absolutely.
But opera is one of those. It's an athletic sport in a way, and in Australia, there's really only one major company. But it also gave me an opportunity through opera to meet my wife, and then we had our 2 children. So my wife is also an opera singer, and it was around 2014 that she auditioned for a scholarship, and she was the recipient, which meant that in 2015 we were able to come to Vienna. So we literally consolidated our life in Australia. My career had also taken a few turns, and I had, at that point, actually in my journey, taken up coaching. So in 2014, 2013, I took up an ICF-approved course in professional coaching, and I thought, I really want to have another string to my bow, a correlating career, you could call it. And so I decided to do that while singing full-time. And I also worked as a cycling instructor for the city of Sydney at the same time. I love bike riding, and my wife said, if you're going to have a bike and you're going to have more than one bike, you need to have something that can pay for those bikes. And so I managed to get myself a job with the city of Sydney teaching adults how to cycle. And it was my first foray into training and coaching. And so honestly, it was a journey where I see that I really was able to, I reinvented myself at 25, therefore, to become an opera singer. When we moved here to Europe, I was 36. I took on some new teaching. I went from singing tenor down to high baritone, which is also a bit of a transitional shift. And at that time, I really thought about, well, what else can I do? Because singing is one of those sports, I say sport, it's an activity like sport where you can't do it forever, like the military that you're involved in, that you can't do forever. And one must think about what is beyond singing.
Yep.
And for me, I never wanted to be, and I still don't want to be, a singing teacher. That's something that many admirable singers go into that profession. But honestly, I don't play the piano. And so if I can't play the piano, how can I play a student's songs or inspire them, you know, and be competent enough?
Yeah.
So it was when I was here and we first arrived that I decided to say, what else can I do? And I did a lot of soul searching and realized that the central pivot to what I do now, and this is where I come to what I do now, is the voice, is vocal projection, is how our voices, in fact, enhance human performance. And so meeting you has been a lovely synergy as well for that reason, because now I see, well, there's a performance aspect to our vocal status. So I've done a lot of English teaching while I've been here. I've then established my own business, and I basically have multiple projects. I have many eggs in many baskets at this point in my life, because I see that, you know, I can do English, yes, but I can also teach voice, and I teach body language, and I work with clients, and I run workshops. And for me, the biggest value I have had in the last 6 years, nearly 6 years of living here, is I realized that the feelings that I had when I sang, I get when I train, I get when I coach, I get when I sit down and meet with people, and I'm able to have an exchange, and I'm able to inspire them. So for me personally, you know, when I sang, people could say, wow, David, that was a really excellent performance. Thank you so much. You gave that, and I could feel that. But now as a trainer and a coach, so I'm an executive voice coach, and I work with people who can go away and say, you've really changed my life, and you've enhanced my performance. You've enhanced my ability. You've enhanced some skills that I needed. So I tell people I bring the best from the stage into everyday life, and that being for your performance in the boardroom, your performance on a stage of sorts, if that's a stage in front of 5 people of your team, in front of the whole company as the CEO, or in front of the media as somebody who maybe has to deliver the corporate key messages and the, you know, financial results and things like that. So it's really, for me now in my early 40s, it's been this lovely bringing together of all aspects of my life experience in that sense.
That's brilliant. I love, and I'll pull out on a few of those points. It's an amazing story, and it's not the first time I've heard it, obviously. But I think it's a fascinating story and a fascinating journey, and it's really nice to see the passion that you talk about. Obviously, now doing what you're doing, coaching, and having taken those experiences that you've had in your life and now sharing it in your new life with others. And I like the analogy of, or the comparison to performing on a stage as in opera or as a singer to life. Life is just a performance, isn't it? And the better you can do your performance, the better life can be. It was a bit of advice that I got very early on in my career, that, you know, it's just a game, and the better you get, the earlier you, or the sooner you get better at playing the game and understanding the rules of the game, the easier life just gets for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And, you know, as an opera singer, I used to think, what is my value? I'm told what to do by the conductor. The composer wrote the score. The costume department asks me to wear the outfit. I have to interact with colleagues on stage, and, you know, I can't just sort of do whatever I want. We have to do what was agreed. So in a way, I realized, though, that you are the magician. You are the mixing pot that puts all those elements together. And so the key analogy for, as you say, for life is playing that game. What elements go into your game and can improve your game? And so for me, it could be, for some people, voice. For others, it's emotional intelligence, which is a big topic of mine. Or it could be through body language, or it just could be through, you know, more psychological aimed work in terms of, what is my own value? And where am I going? And what is my career projection and direction? And where should I go? So I'm moving more and more now into this world, not only of voice coaching, but career coaching, having had now my 3rd iteration. And we live in this world where the the workforce is not defined, where jobs are smaller, where your master's degree might only leverage you for 5 to 10 years of your life, and then you have to go and reskill and retrain again. And I think we're of a similar age, and we're on this cusp of, we can't necessarily follow the traditional trajectory of our parents
Yeah.
and grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also leading where the new Gen Y, lower Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, which my kids belong to. They're really this post 2010 world. They're still young kids, and how they come into the world.
Yeah.
But for me, crucial of all of it is voice, is how we communicate with each other. And that for me has been a really interesting takeaway from opera, that I learned how to mix and satisfy all of those people at once. And so how can we bring that to everyday life for other people as well?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I in all of my learnings, that there's been less emphasis always placed on voice. It's all been about the emotions, the psychology underpinning interactions, the body language, all that kind of. So it wasn't until meeting you and really we exploring our sort of discussions and stuff, I thought, you're so right. The voice, it's what people hear, isn't it? It's what comes out of your mouth. And there's more to it than just the voice, like you said, that you back it up with the psychology, the emotional intelligence, and all those really important things that bring it together as an aspect. And I've just realized in myself that I've not really considered the voice aspect of it, other than tone, pitch, speed, all that kind of stuff, the normal stuff that I've learned.
And the cool part is that you can work on it.
Absolutely.
You absolutely can work on it. So we can work together and do some singing exercises, or do some vocal ease exercises, things to strengthen and build your voice. Like this week, I've been a little bit sick, but I use my vocal techniques in order to go to the university this afternoon and deliver a 2.5-hour lecture with energy, with emphasis, in English. And in that sense of, you can rely on those building foundations that you have. And I want to add too that in COVID time, we can no longer shake hands. We've never met. We've met virtually. So the voice is the first thing you hear from me, or vice versa. So when we're online and when we introduce ourselves, how do we show up? And this is where, for me, it's crucial to help people to think about, how do you want to show up with your voice, with your tone, with the cadence, with the pausing, but also having some options. I always say, I don't get offline here and go to my family and say, "Hi, Dad's home and welcome back. I'm here. Is there anything you'd like me to," like Jim Carrey might, in a funny skit. It's nothing like that. We have different voices, just as we have different hats. You have your father hat, your leader hat, your coach hat, your military sergeant hat, the backgrounds and life that we've had. And so it is about thinking just as much as what is each of those characters, and vocally, what differences could there be? Because I think when we're the same in all facets, that's not what I'm coining emotionally vocal intelligence. It's not. What is emotionally vocally intelligent can alter their sound, can play with their pitch and dynamic, and bring about the effect that they want for the audience. So it's not just me saying, "I'm fantastic," but it's about me using my voice to say, "Hey, I want to inspire you, and what do you need to hear from me vocally that's going to bring that, for people?"
Like you say, you touched on a really important thing there with the COVID piece now, and hopefully the way the world will go once COVID disappears, continue to go to not so reliance for in person. We have this amazing technology that's been around for many, many years that we haven't really utilized to its full extent, which I think now the general population has increased their level of understanding. Those within the tech fraternity get it. But absolutely, how do you engage with, or how do there's been discussions I've had before with a colleague of mine, interviewing new people into your company through over Skype or Zoom or Google Meets or whatever,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
know that they're the right person, that you can trust them,
Mm-hmm.
they can trust you likewise? But
Mm-hmm.
how do you get that across to them on a
Mm-hmm.
tiny little screen where there's no emotion
Mm.
coming across?
Mm.
You can't
Mm.
really read my body language if you've only got my headshot, for instance.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
like you said, the voice is the first and the dominant
Mhm.
sense that we're getting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I work for a language firm here in Vienna, and I'm the HR function.
Hmm.
And we have a global network of 80 trainers, and we've won some big contracts, global contracts in the last couple of years. And that meant, 2 or 3 years ago, that we had to onboard. We would have onboarded close to 40 trainers.
Mm.
I onboarded each person.
Yeah.
I interviewed each person.
Hmm.
I've never met in person each person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that you say that. And I guess thinking about that now holistically,
Hmm.
yes, I was listening. As much as I vocalize myself,
Yeah.
I'm always listening
Hmm.
for, you hear trust, you hear authenticity, you hear resonance with people. And
Yeah.
I'd say that, out of the 80, maybe the 40 new people or whatever the number was,
Yeah.
we probably only had 3 or 4 people that really didn't work out, where I
Right.
got it wrong out of,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying, oh, I'm a genius, but I'm saying that I think we can trust more in some of these gut reactions, and a lot of those can be from our voice. And it's why, as you say, you never paid attention. We need to pay attention to how do we sound. And I mean, you talk about technology. An iPhone now is so powerful. Whenever I coach people, I say, turn on your iPhone,
Hmm.
play the voice memo, record yourself, listen
Yeah.
back.
Hmm.
And often, another activity I've been really involved with since I moved to Vienna has been Toastmasters. It's a worldwide public speaking organization. And I've learned and valued the fact that, like I said, in opera, I sing the music of the composer.
Yeah.
In Toastmasters, we do a thing called table topics, which is where you give me a topic, I stand up and I address the topic for 1 to 2.5 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And if I'm good,
Uh-huh.
I'm up in a ribbon.
Yeah.
So the point is that that's a skill, this off the cuff speaking,
Hmm.
that also needs development in the sense of our voices. And so when you pair these aspects together, you start to see that you've got more room to play
Hmm.
with your voice, and you really should, for those for those reasons,
Yeah.
as
Absolutely.
well.
And I
Yeah.
think it also adds interest and excitement, doesn't it? Trying to conduct an online session now where perhaps it would be used to be a supplement to the in-person or physical work that you did.
Hmm.
Now, especially in this current climate, it's predominantly 90% online or virtual.
Yeah.
How
Hmm.
do you maintain people's attention through being a monotone drone that's going on for, it's something that
Exactly.
you really have to
Yeah.
think about and pay
Yeah.
attention to.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's why, I work now with people. We were just talking about before we started the recording, lighting, and I love playing with tech. I've always loved technology. I watch the Apple announcements. I
yeah.
watched the Apple event the other night for Apple iPhone 12,
Mhm.
because now I'm analyzing the speakers.
Nice.
Tim Cook, if you watch him, he flicks his knees, for instance.
Oh, really?
You watch him in the opening address, when they go to a long shot,
Yeah.
his knee kind of buckles under him a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's a speech technique or somebody's told him to do it, or it's just Tim
Yeah.
Cook, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the point is that I love tech, and I think in this age now, there's no excuse for poor tech.
Hmm.
If you are in and professional and serious about this, as we are, then yeah, you've got a camera, I've got a camera. We're not looking up, we're looking down.
Yeah.
Lighting is always helpful. Yes, plant in the background you've got there, super. Like, bring in aspects of your personality,
Hmm.
because, as you say, when we're dealing with only a small screen, you might say, "Hey, David, what's this model about?" "Oh, let me tell you." "No, well, what are those books about?" So
Yeah.
I've deliberately put those things there, just as I deliberately, speak with the microphone in my Logitech camera,
Yeah.
look at the camera.
Uh-huh.
I think now we've got to, as you say, up the game. The
Yeah.
technology's been there. And so it's for me, it's a wonderful aspect to support people in this way as well, because someone says, oh, I don't like speaking, oh, and I don't like cameras, oh, and I don't like, being filmed or whatever. Well,
Mhm.
we can ease into this. And like I said, in opera, we used to rehearse for a small amount of shows. So you
Yeah.
might rehearse for 6 weeks to put on 10 performances that happen across 2 weeks, and it's done. So you
Mhm.
spend all this time. So my point is, that's what I do now. I get to help people rehearse.
Mhm.
And we don't value, unless you've played instruments, or I mean, your background in the military, you would have, had rehearsals
Mhm.
for drills,
Yeah.
for assignments, for, deployment. Like,
Yeah.
so by the time you get to the deployment stage, you have had like hours of practice,
Mhm. Yeah.
in how to just use your weapons and how to, function as an army officer. So it's very similar in the opera in the sense of you learn, you rehearse, and you've got multiple ways. And
Yeah.
so for business people, for speakers, for potential speakers, I think this is a really, it has to happen. You can't
Mhm.
just like turn it on. You have to practice. And yeah, as I say, for me, Toastmasters, 5 years of Toastmasters. I became a distinguished Toastmaster in April, which
Wow.
means I completed all of the
Yeah.
pathways and necessary assignments
Uh-huh.
and leadership that has to go in with that. But I see the value in that because I've invested in 5 years of rehearsal,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
5 years of practice. So I always say to my students, okay, I've just taught you something interesting. Where can you practice this
Mhm.
in your daily life? On the bus. You
Yeah.
can do my stance idea on the bus, on the train. You could, when you meet people, you're not giving a speech, but you can practice your vocal delivery.
Mhm.
Breathe, nice setup,
Yeah.
nice delivery, good words, resonance.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So
I
it's
agree.
it's finding the daily small moments to really practice for the bigger ones
Yeah.
in our
Absolutely.
lives too.
Absolutely. And well, two things out of that is, one, I can totally resonate with what you're saying about people not liking being on camera. That's why I started doing this.
Yeah,
I needed
super.
to challenge myself because I hated being in front of camera. I'm still not
Great.
comfortable with it.
Yep.
Um, and
So you just need more rehearsal.
I do. And the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. And
Yeah.
it's the conversations that I enjoy now, not me
Mhm.
being in front of the camera. That's just a
Yeah.
byproduct of having these conversations and wanting to capture them.
Yeah, super.
But
Because
yeah,
you found your medium there, right? So, and that's a great step. You're not saying, oh, I'm going to go and do a 4-hour lecture online by myself right
yeah, yeah,
now. It's
yeah.
you find your comfort zone, your comfort point. I don't mean zone. I mean find the point where you go, cool, I've got this.
Hmm. Yeah,
And then, if I were to work with you, I'd say, well, what's the next point? Ashley,
absolutely.
where do we go from here? Oh, I put together a workshop, like I've got maybe you have a workshop, I don't know, but
Yeah,
you could put together a Udemy course or something
yeah,
like that, where you and the camera, that's it,
yeah. Well, my
Um,
next challenge, I've already signed up for it. I'm doing my first public speaking event next March in Glasgow, in Scotland.
Oh, super. Yeah. I mean, and then you build to that. So by the time you get there,
Yeah,
with effective rehearsal and practice and
yeah,
training and talking to people about your topic,
hmm,
that's super. Yeah.
yeah. And then oh gosh, the other point. Where's it? What was it now? Oh, my mind's gone. Um, oh, that was it. Yeah. So it's about you mentioned earlier. You use clients now with its executive voice coach. You're dealing with executives, and I love that because again, there's this history of we've had people that are good at selling widgets, for instance. They become the best widget seller, and then they get promoted to you can design the widgets now because you were really good at selling it. Now you know everything about it. You can design them. You become the best designer. Brilliant. You know the design. You know the selling. Now be the person in charge of those people selling and designing the widgets. And in your design and selling phase, you had loads of training because you needed it because you needed to learn how to
Yeah.
sell and how to design it. And then
Hmm.
you become a leader, and then off you
Hmm.
go, and you're
Yeah.
expected
And
to
there's
do.
no training.
It's the same as the thing about with the voice as well. It's okay, maybe as a manager you had all this training, or as a leader you had all this training, and now you're expected to be the voice of the company
Hmm.
or voice of the people.
Yeah.
and then what? We expect everything, but we give nothing to help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite groups to work with are the up and coming talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, because I mean, I've worked with some CEOs of large banks and things, and had an opportunity or two with a politician here in Austria. Was wonderful.
Nice.
But with those people, you're kind of tweaking because next week they go to Brussels. Next week they're on. There's no major foundational development that can happen with these people. But what I want to really do is be part of the certainly in Europe, be part of the scene with the management development program, the middle manager, maybe my age, 40 odd, who will be potentially that future GM, future director, future executive director, or whatever, in their trajectory, because it takes, I've had 15 years of professional singing. Even now I still sing in church. I found a place where I can just sing my heart out and have an absolute great time. So every Sunday, I turn up and I sing 4 or 5 different songs, often solo, or, I can sing with the group and lead a choir or be part of a small choir, but it fills my heart. So, but I'm still exercising, rehearsing for the day-to-day when I can be here with you or in a lecture or with a client and vocally deliver with those people as well. So what I mean is no one has to go away and become an opera singer, but I would hope that with enough devotion to, habit building, personal practice, and we have ways every day to speak with people online, face-to-face, phone calls. So there's no shortage of practice. There's just shortage, as you say, of what skills and techniques do I need to do in order to do that. If you go play a sport, you go learn to play tennis, then you go there. I just started karate again after a few years of break. I did it in Australia. Have always loved martial arts, and but you go to a martial arts dojo in whatever genre you've picked, and there's always, a check-in moment. There's a warm-up. There's exercise. There's again maybe a warm down and then a check out. And there's like this meditation at the start and the finish. So again, apply that to life and speaking. When you go into the meeting with your team, how are you feeling? What are you doing? Where is your voice? What can you do before you go into the meeting? A couple of little or in the toilet or whatever, in your room, your office, find a space to just, okay, feel a bit tense. Okay, maybe my voice is up. Maybe my voice is up here, and I need to bring my voice, my executive voice, down here. And so I could put my hand on my chest. I could resonate. Okay, all right. Then you go into your meeting, and you bring yourself down. So you're not only checking your emotional temperature, but your vocal temperature, and then really having a piece around awareness and then intention. And the intention is tied to the purposefulness. So as you say, I just made for leaders, they go from technical expert, okay, you go be a manager, but we're not going to give you anything. So a big influence for me has been John Maxwell's books on leadership, because again, I come from opera and I've been launching myself into this sphere. I do need to understand, and I have always enjoyed leadership when I studied psych, but leadership for now, and what are leaders facing, and what challenges do they have as well, and how do they use their voices to inspire others?
That's so passionate. That's so on point as well, especially in the current climate. And I think we're getting there. People are realizing, leaders are realizing that the industrial age is behind us now. And everything that we've done for the past 40 years just will not work.
No, you can't just yell at people. You can't have carrot and stick. You can't have, lots of different things. It's why I love, maybe this author as well, Jacob Morgan. A few years ago, I read his book here, The Future of Work.
Oh, wow.
For me, it's a fabulous expose of where we've come, industrial age, and where we're going. Because we have now a much shorter turnaround. We have, and this advent of social media, and we've all got, LinkedIn profile. I love putting out a weekly video like you do. I started, I started that 3 years ago. So to give you some inspiration, or at least
Yeah.
a story there,
Mhm.
I started 3 years ago because I thought, again, the voice and how can I do it? So I thought, well, I'll do a podcast of
Mhm.
sorts. It was cheap and cheerful in that sense that somebody gave me a recording device. I literally recorded it in one take
Yeah.
because I couldn't be bothered editing because I didn't know how. And so I found a book that I read a passage from, and then I talked about the passage. And I did 52 of those episodes. And
Wow.
I put them on SoundCloud. They're still there on SoundCloud if you want to
Yeah, I love
listen back.
that.
But the point is, then I had at the time a sparring partner here in Austria, someone like a sort of we co-mentored each other. And she said to me, David, you're a handsome guy. You've got to be on video. Like, start doing videos.
Yeah.
Do it on LinkedIn, do it on Facebook, do it on whatever. So the first 2 years, I said, great. I'm going to set myself a goal of 52 videos in 2000 and what are we in? 18. Would have been
Mhm.
18.
Yeah.
So I achieved that, and they're all on Facebook on my Resonant Personal Development page.
Yeah.
Then I did another year, and I go, cool. Now the first video was rubbish,
Yeah.
and I realized, okay, it's going to take a lot more. How do I do this? And so each week, again, rehearsing, building my skills. Maybe I've got tripods here now, and lights, and microphones, and
Yeah.
just small tech that over, each month you might say, well, I'll buy that microphone this month, or I'll get that camera this month, and I'll experiment with this and experiment with that. And slowly over time have developed these ideas around distance and pace and hands, and
Mhm.
how can we have more impact
Yeah.
to enhance this idea of yours, this human performance.
Mhm.
How can we perform better online? And I knew it had arrived because through the language school I worked for, a major tech company said, can you provide our people with some lessons? I said,
Yeah.
great. I organized the sale. So I got the
Mhm.
sale through
Yeah.
the company.
Yeah.
I organized the lessons. I was the trainer, so it's worked out well where suddenly people saw value in this. And it's a skill, this skill on camera, the skill in front of these mediums, and
Mhm.
it takes time and practice, but we have to rehearse and we have to grow and develop, and this for me is the joy.
That's brilliant, and it is a journey, isn't it? It's like life, isn't it? It's a journey. You've got to start, and then you'll get the feedback. You'll adapt. You'll overcome. You'll implement change to improve it. It won't work. You get
Yep.
the feedback, and it's just that constant, repetitive feedback cycle to get to where you're content. And like you say, you're adding the value that you feel that you should be adding.
Yep.
No,
Absolutely.
brilliant. Absolutely
I mean,
brilliant.
on a vocal side, I'll be quite personal here.
Mm.
Most people, if not all people, say to me, I hate the sound of my voice when it's recorded.
Hmm.
I too.
Yeah.
I too. But this is where the feedback that
Hmm.
I've had over 20 years or
Yeah.
whatever tells you you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Even this afternoon, the two uni students and we were on the same train, getting a few stops towards home. And they said, normally after my lectures, I feel so tired and bored. But
Hmm.
after yours, I feel really energized. And she wasn't like, oh,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
wasn't paying a compliment. She was just making a statement. I said, thank you for that feedback because I'm really tired and I try really hard to
Hmm.
give that energy in
Yeah.
the class,
Yeah.
vocally as well as energetically.
Hmm.
And so I'm therefore, that's the feedback, that moment where she
Yeah.
says to me, I'm on the right track.
Exactly. Yeah. You're on.
Um, you know, a family member passed away during the week, and I sent a short recording today of me singing something.
Okay.
And the other family member said, wow, you're amazing. Okay, great. I played it back and I'm like, oh, that's horrible. So my point is,
Yeah.
we all feel that way, just as we might all, they say 80% of the population fear public speaking,
Hmm.
but you don't fear it once you do it.
No.
You don't fear it once you rehearse. You don't fear it once you keep trying it and trying it and trying
Absolutely.
it and trying it. So, I mean, again, human performance, who is ever perfect? We have the English idiom, practice makes perfect. I always say, no,
No.
practice makes you better.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. Practice makes you better. But what are you practicing?
Yeah.
And that's where, as coaches, I think we bring some value to say, okay, this week try this. And the more I work in all of these areas, I see these connections.
Mm-hmm.
Voice affects body language, which is affected by gesture. Gesture can be affected by our word choice. Word choice can be affected by how we stand. And because when we stand well, we're in good breath, we're flowing, so all of these kind of topics swim around each other. And I love that, because it means then that you can approach, each time you work with someone, you take a small aspect, and that can affect the whole of the person, and therefore increase, their performance.
Absolutely. And I think the key word there is the whole of the person. We are a whole, and it's wasted resource developing one aspect of your whole, because, okay, you might get good at that one thing, but other things will falter, and you'll be back where you were, not content with yourself, not getting the performance that you want. And so it's an underlying philosophy of mine that it's about holistic development in whatever you want to achieve, physiological, psychological, emotional, whatever it may be. You've got to consider the others as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're an instrument from head to toe when it comes to our voice.
Absolutely.
It's just not here or here. It's head to toe, and how does the whole body resonate with everybody? So yeah, it's super.
I love it. And yeah, that's such a brilliant point, and an excellent point to finish on, I think. I'm mindful of the time. I've kept you long enough. I really do appreciate it, though. It's been
pleasure.
Fantastic to speak to you, as I knew it would be. I was really excited about this. I knew it was going to be brilliant, and it's a different aspect that I've never even contemplated in my umpteen years of being a coach or a peak performance coach. And so how many other peak performance coaches aren't as well, which is why I really wanted to have this discussion with you, to share it with everyone as well. So the final thing, David,
super.
Where can anyone sort of find any more information about you? I'll put these in the show notes as well, in the edit on YouTube. But where can they come and find some information about you?
Sure. Well, yeah, I have a personal website, davidcorcoran.com.au, which tells you more about me and my opera background and who I am. Yeah. My business website is Resonant PD, so Resonant, or RESONANT PD.com, short for Resonant Personal Development. And really the idea is helping people to speak to inspire and to make change in their vocal development, either of those places. And I'm always where we met on LinkedIn. So, each week, as I say, my focus this year has been on LinkedIn and putting out videos and content, and just wanting to start discussions like we've had tonight with people, because I don't have all the answers, but certainly I have the ears, the frameworks, the mindset to say, let's explore this and let's go forward. So it's been a pleasure to meet you in now virtually, but also through LinkedIn. And yeah, that's how people can find me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the evening with your family and the rest of the week.
Thank you.
And I shall speak to you soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thanks very much.